Jake Martinez pulled his jacket tighter as he walked across the dark parking lot. The Nevada desert was always cold at night, even in summer. He had been working at the Remote Contact Research Facility for 3 years now, but he still hated the night shifts. The place felt empty and strange when most people went home. He was a xenobiologist, which meant he studied alien life forms. At least that was what his job description said. Most days he just looked at data on computer screens and wrote reports that nobody seemed to read. Real alien contact was still new to Earth. Only 6 months had passed since the first Dracorian. Ships appeared in the sky above major cities. The dragons were huge and ancient. They spoke in formal ways and only met with world leaders and top scientists. Jake had never seen one in person. He just studied the few tissue samples and recordings that the facility had received. It was not very exciting work. Jake reached the main building and scanned his ID card. The door beeped and opened. The hallway was quiet except for the hum of machines. He walked to his small office and turned on his computer. Another night of reading old data reports waited for him. He had been working for about 2 hours when he heard a loud crash outside. Jake looked up from his screen. The sound came from somewhere near the fence that surrounded the facility. He waited to see if he heard it again. Nothing. Jake tried to go back to his work, but he could not focus. What if something was wrong? What if someone was trying to break into the facility? He was the only person on duty in his section tonight. The security guards were probably drinking coffee in their office on the other side of the building. Another sound made him jump. This time it was quieter, like something moving through the bushes. Jake saved his work and stood up. He grabbed a flashlight from his desk drawer and walked to the window. The parking lot looked normal. The fence was about 50 yards away, hidden in the darkness beyond the lights. Jake made a decision. He would go check it out. If it was nothing, he could come back and finish his reports. If it was something important, he would call security. He walked to the back door of the building and stepped outside. The desert air hit his face like cold water. He turned on his flashlight and started walking toward the fence. His footsteps crunched on the gravel. The beam of light moved back and forth as he searched for anything unusual. He found it near the fence, half hidden under a small bush. At first, Jake thought it was a large lizard that had been hit by a car. The creature was about the size of a house cat, with dark scales that looked almost black in the flashlight beam. It was breathing, but barely. One of its wings was bent at a strange angle. Wings. Jake realized this was not a normal lizard. He moved closer and knelt down beside the creature. Its scales caught the light and showed colors he had never seen before. Deep blue mixed with silver and green. The creature's eyes opened slightly and looked at him. Those eyes were the most intelligent eyes Jake had ever seen. They were large and golden, with pupils that contracted when the light hit them. The creature made a soft sound, almost like a cat purring. Jake felt something strange in his mind, like someone was trying to talk to him without using words. Jake looked around to make sure nobody was watching. Then he carefully picked up the creature. It was heavier than it looked, and warm. Its scales felt smooth under his hands. The creature did not try to fight or escape. It just looked at him with those golden eyes. He could not take it to the main building. Director Williams would want to turn it over to the military team right away. Jake had heard rumors about what happened to alien specimens in the secure labs. The tests were not gentle. Many creatures did not survive. This little thing was different. Jake could feel it somehow. It was not just an animal. There was intelligence there, maybe even personality. He made another decision that would change his life forever. Jake carried the creature to an old storage building behind the main facility. The building was supposed to be empty, but maintenance workers sometimes stored supplies there. Jake had a master key that worked on most doors in the facility. He unlocked the storage building and went inside. The building smelled like dust and old metal. Jake found an empty room in the back and made a comfortable nest for the creature using some old blankets he found in a box. He set the creature down gently and examined its injured wing. The wing was definitely hurt, but not broken. Jake had studied animal biology before he specialized in alien life forms. He thought the wing would heal if the creature rested and stayed safe. He found a small bowl and filled it with water from a sink in the main room. The creature drank eagerly. Jake sat back and watched the strange little dragon. Because that was what it had to be. A dragon. Not one of the huge ancient ones that spoke to world leaders. This was something young and small. But where had it come from? How had it gotten hurt? And why did he feel like it was trying to communicate with him? The creature finished drinking and looked at Jake again. This time the feeling in his mind was stronger. Not words exactly, but emotions and images. Jake saw flashes of starlight and metal corridors. He felt fear and loneliness, but also hope. The creature was trying to tell him something. Jake spent the rest of his shift with the little dragon. He brought it some food from the vending machines, though he was not sure what it would eat. The creature sniffed at a sandwich and ate small pieces of meat from it. It seemed to like the turkey better than the bread. As the sun started to rise, Jake knew he had to leave. Other workers would arrive soon, but he also knew he would come back. This creature needed help, and Jake was the only one who could give it without putting it in danger. He made sure the dragon was comfortable and hidden in the back room. Then he locked the storage building and walked back to the main facility. Jake finished his reports and prepared to go home, but his mind kept returning to those intelligent golden eyes and the strange feelings in his head. Jake Martinez had always been a careful, rule-following scientist, but something had changed that night. He had found something wonderful and dangerous, and he was going to protect it no matter what the cost. 3 weeks had passed since Jake found the little dragon. Every night after his regular shift, he would slip away to the old storage building. What he found there amazed him more each time. The dragon was growing fast, very fast. It was now the size of a medium dog, with wings that could spread almost 4 feet across. Its scales had become brighter too, showing deep blues and greens that seemed to glow in the dark. The injured wing had healed completely. Jake had started calling the creature Solaris because of the way its scales caught light like tiny suns. The name seemed to make the dragon happy. Solaris would make that soft purring sound whenever Jake said it. The communication between them had gotten much stronger. Jake could feel Solaris in his mind now, not just during direct contact. The feelings and images came clearer. Solaris showed him pictures of space, of huge ships with other dragons, and of a blue-green planet that must be the dragon home world. But tonight, something was different. As Jake entered the storage room, he saw Solaris floating 3 feet off the ground. The dragon was surrounded by a soft blue glow, and small objects around the room were moving by themselves. A wrench floated past Jake's head. "Solaris," Jake whispered. The dragon opened his golden eyes and gently lowered himself to the ground. The floating objects settled back where they belonged. Jake felt excitement and pride coming from Solaris. The young dragon was proud of his new abilities and wanted to show them off. Jake sat down and watched as Solaris demonstrated his powers. The dragon could make light with his scales, move things without touching them, and even seemed to disappear for a few seconds before reappearing somewhere else. "You're incredible," Jake said softly. Solaris tilted his head, and Jake felt warm happiness flow into his mind. But Jake also felt worry. Solaris was getting too big and too powerful to hide much longer. The storage building was starting to feel small, and Jake was running out of excuses for his long absences after work. His biggest concern was Dr. Lisa Thompson. Lisa was his research partner and the closest thing he had to a friend at the facility. She was smart, really smart, and she had started asking questions about Jake's behavior. "You've been different lately," Lisa had said that afternoon. "Distracted." Are you feeling okay? Jake had made up some excuse about not sleeping well, but Lisa's sharp green eyes told him she was not convinced. Lisa Thompson did not miss much. She had short red hair and a way of looking at problems until she solved them. If anyone could figure out his secret, it would be her. That night, Jake's fears came true. He was in the storage building watching Solaris practice making small lightning bolts between his claws when he heard footsteps outside. Jake quickly motioned for Solaris to hide behind some old equipment boxes. The door opened, and Lisa stepped inside with a flashlight. She had followed him. "Jake, what are you doing out here every night?" she called. "I saw you leave the building again, and I decided to see where you go." Jake's heart was pounding. "Lisa, you need to leave, right now." "Why? What's going on?" She moved deeper into the building, her flashlight beam moving across the walls. "This place is supposed to be empty." That was when Solaris made his decision. The young dragon stepped out from behind the boxes and into Lisa's flashlight beam. Lisa screamed and dropped her flashlight. The light spun on the floor, casting moving shadows everywhere. Solaris sat perfectly still, his golden eyes fixed on Lisa. Jake could feel the dragon trying to project calm feelings, the way he did with Jake. "Lisa, please don't run," Jake said quickly. "He won't hurt you. His name is Solaris." Lisa had backed against the wall, her face pale. That's a dragon. A real dragon. Jake, what have you done?" "I found him hurt, and I helped him. Lisa, he's not like the big dragons that came to Earth. He's young, and he's intelligent, really intelligent." Solaris took a careful step toward Lisa. The dragon was bigger than a dog now, with sharp claws and teeth, but he moved gently. He lowered his head and made the soft purring sound. "He's trying to show you he's friendly," Jake explained. Lisa stared at Solaris for a long moment. Then very slowly, she knelt down and extended her hand. Solaris moved closer and touched her fingers with his snout. Lisa gasped. "I can feel him," she whispered. "In my mind. He's trying to talk to me." Jake felt relief wash over him. "You can sense it too. Lisa, he's amazing. Watch this." Jake asked Solaris to show Lisa his abilities. The dragon created a small ball of light that danced around the room. Then he made a screwdriver float from a workbench to Lisa's hand. Lisa caught the screwdriver and stared at it. "This is impossible. How long have you been hiding him here?" 3 weeks. Ever since I found him by the fence." Jake sat down beside Lisa. "He was hurt and scared. I couldn't turn him over to Director Williams. You know what they would do to him." Lisa nodded slowly. She knew about the secure labs and the military oversight of alien research. "But Jake, this is huge. He's growing fast, and these abilities..." Solaris settled down between them and projected feelings of trust and friendship toward Lisa. Jake watched as her fear melted away, replaced by wonder and protectiveness. "We can't keep this secret much longer," Lisa said. "Look at him. He's getting bigger every day." "I know. But what choice do we have?" Lisa was quiet for several minutes, studying Solaris. The dragon seemed to understand that she was making an important decision. He projected images toward her, showing her the same visions of space and other dragons that he had shared with Jake. "He's trying to tell us something," Lisa said, "about where he came from." Jake felt new images from Solaris. These were different, darker. He saw the big dragons in their ships, looking down at Earth. But these dragons looked angry or worried. There was disagreement among them about humans. Solaris ran away from them, Jake realized. The other dragons. "He doesn't agree with something they're planning." More images flowed from Solaris. Jake and Lisa saw laboratories, weapons, soldiers in uniform, but these were not memories. These were fears. "He's warning us about something," Lisa whispered. "Something bad that's going to happen." Solaris confirmed their guess by projecting strong feelings of danger and urgency. The young dragon was trying to tell them that both dragons and humans were in trouble. Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the desert night. "Lisa, I think we're in more danger than we realized, and not just from keeping Solaris secret." Lisa stood up and began pacing. "We need to know more. Solaris, can you show us what the other dragons are planning?" The images that came next made both humans go cold. They saw the facility where they worked, but from above, as if through dragon eyes. They saw Director Williams and Colonel Hayes, the military liaison, and they saw weapons designed specifically to capture and control dragons. "They're planning to use him as a weapon," Jake said. "Or worse, to make more dragons they can control." Lisa turned to look at both Jake and Solaris. "We can't let that happen, but we also can't hide him here much longer. He's going to outgrow this building soon." Solaris projected agreement and determination. The young dragon was ready to fight, if necessary, but he preferred to run. "Then we run," Jake said. "All three of us." Lisa stared at him. "Jake, that would mean giving up everything. Our careers, our lives here." "What lives?" Jake asked. "Working for people who want to turn intelligent beings into weapons." "Lisa, look at him, really look at him. Solaris isn't just an alien creature, he's a person." Solaris moved closer to Lisa and gently touched her arm with his snout. She felt his gratitude and growing friendship. "You're right," she said finally. "We have to protect him. But how do we escape from a government facility in the middle of the desert?" Jake felt Solaris project confidence and readiness. The dragon was stronger now, with abilities that were growing every day, and he had two human friends who cared about him more than their own safety. "We'll find a way," Jake said. "We have to." Outside the storage building, none of them noticed the small security camera that had been installed the week before. In the main facility, an automated system had been recording everything. Jake was drinking coffee in the break room when the alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed in the hallways and security guards ran past the windows. His heart dropped into his stomach. Something had gone wrong. Director Williams's voice came over the loudspeakers. "All personnel report to your stations immediately. This is not a drill. Security level 3 is now in effect." Jake grabbed his ID badge and headed for his office. Lisa met him in the hallway, her face pale. "Jake, they know," she whispered. "What do you mean they know?" "I just came from the main lab. Williams was talking to Colonel Hayes about security footage from the storage area. They have cameras everywhere, Jake. They've been watching." Jake felt sick. They had been so careful, but not careful enough. "Where's Solaris?" "Still in the building, as far as I know. But Jake, they're planning to move in with tranquilizer guns and capture nets. We have maybe 10 minutes before they get there. 10 minutes to save their friend's life." Jake made his decision. "We get him out. Right now." They ran toward the back exit, trying to look casual. Security guards were everywhere, but most were heading toward the storage building. Jake and Lisa slipped outside and ran across the open ground. The storage building looked normal from the outside, but Jake could hear voices coming from inside. Military voices. They were too late. Then the building exploded with blue light. Every window in the storage building shattered at the same time. The metal walls bulged outward, and the roof lifted up 6 inches before settling back down. Men in military uniforms came running out, covering their eyes and shouting into radios. "He's fighting back," Lisa said. A hole appeared in the back wall of the building. Not blasted open, but melted through as if the metal had turned to liquid. Solaris pushed his head through the hole, looked around, and saw Jake and Lisa. The dragon was bigger than ever now, almost the size of a small horse. His scales glowed with bright energy, and his golden eyes blazed with anger and fear. He squeezed through the hole and ran toward his friends. "This way," Jake shouted, pointing toward the desert. "We have to get away from the buildings." They ran, together, across the rocky ground. Behind them, More alarms started sounding. Jake could hear helicopters starting up in the distance. Searchlights began sweeping across the desert. Solaris kept pace with them easily, his powerful legs carrying him over rocks and bushes. But Jake could feel the dragon's emotions through their mental link. Solaris was scared and angry, and his control over his powers was slipping. Energy crackled around his scales, and the air around them felt like it was buzzing. "Solaris, you have to stay calm," Jake called out as they ran. "Your powers are attracting attention." The dragon tried to control himself, but it was hard. Every time a searchlight came near them, Solaris would glow brighter. The helicopters were getting closer. They ran for 20 minutes before Jake had to stop. His lungs were burning and his legs felt like rubber. Lisa was gasping beside him. Only Solaris seemed fine, though his scales still flickered with worried energy. "We can't outrun helicopters," Lisa panted. "We need help." That was when they saw the lights of a small town in the distance. It was just a few buildings, probably an old mining settlement. But it was better than staying in the open desert. They walked toward the town, staying low and trying to avoid the searchlights. Solaris did his best to dim his scales, but he was still learning to control his abilities. Every few minutes, a flash of light would escape, and they would have to duck behind rocks until the helicopters moved on. The town was mostly empty buildings and broken windows, but smoke was coming from one chimney, and they could see light in the windows of a small house at the end of the main street. Jake knocked on the door. A man's voice called out, "Who's there?" "Please, we need help. We're lost in the desert." The door opened a crack and a bearded face looked out. The man was maybe 50 years old with gray hair and suspicious eyes. "Lost, huh? With half the military looking for you?" Jake started to deny it, but the man held up his hand. "I can see the helicopters, son, and I heard the explosions from that government facility. You're the ones they're looking for." "Please," Lisa said. "We're not terrorists. We're just trying to protect someone." The man looked past them into the darkness. "Protect who?" Solaris stepped into the light from the doorway. His scales were dim now, but he was still clearly not a normal animal. The man stared at him for a long moment. "Well, I'll be damned," the man said. "You're one of those dragons, aren't you? But smaller." Solaris tilted his head and made his soft, purring sound. The man seemed to relax a little. "Name's Tom Bradley," the man said. "And I'm guessing you folks have got yourselves in some real trouble. Come on in before those helicopters spot you." Tom's house was small but comfortable. He made coffee while Jake and Lisa explained what had happened. Solaris curled up by the fireplace, his scales dim but still giving off a soft glow. "So the government wants to turn him into a weapon," Tom said when they finished their story. "Can't say I'm surprised. I used to work for them myself back in the day. Built some things I'm not proud of." "You worked for the government?" Jake asked. "Military engineer. Specialized in alien technology after we made first contact. But I quit when I saw what they really planned to do with all that advanced tech. Been living out here ever since, trying to mind my own business." Tom studied Solaris carefully. "He's intelligent, isn't he? I can see it in his eyes." Solaris projected feelings of friendliness toward Tom. The old man blinked in surprise. "He's trying to talk to me," Tom said. "Amazing. The big dragons that came to Earth, they only talk to world leaders. This little guy wants to be friends with everyone." "That's why we have to protect him," Lisa said. "He believes humans and dragons can work together. But if the government captures him, they'll use him to build weapons and maybe start a war." Tom finished. "Yeah, I know how these people think." Tom went to a closet and pulled out some equipment Jake didn't recognize. "Good thing I kept some of my old gear. This should help hide his energy signature from their sensors. At least for a while." As Tom worked on the equipment, he explained that they couldn't stay in the town. The military would search every building eventually, but he had contacts near the Canadian border who might help them find sanctuary. "It's a long trip," Tom warned. and they'll be looking for you every mile of the way. We'll make it, Jake said. We have to. Solaris projected determination and trust. The young dragon was ready to face whatever came next, as long as his friends were with him. Tom finished setting up his equipment just as the helicopters came back. This time they flew directly over the town, their searchlights lighting up every building. But the sensors that had been tracking Solaris found nothing. That'll buy us some time, Tom said, but not much. You need to leave before morning. As they prepared to go, Tom gave them supplies and a map showing the safest route north. There's a woman named Maria Santos about 2 days from here. Runs an animal sanctuary. She might help you. Jake looked at Solaris, who had grown even more in just the few hours since their escape. At this rate, the dragon would be too big to hide anywhere soon. We'll figure it out, Lisa said, reading his thoughts. One day at a time. They left Tom's house before dawn, heading north into the desert. Behind them, the helicopters continued their search. Ahead of them lay hundreds of miles of dangerous territory and an uncertain future. But they were together, and that was what mattered most. 2 days of walking through the desert had left Jake and Lisa exhausted. Their water was running low, and the sun was getting hotter every hour. Solaris seemed fine, but he was growing larger each day. The dragon was now the size of a small car, and his energy was getting harder to hide, even with Tom's equipment. They reached Maria Santos's animal sanctuary just as the sun was setting. The place looked like a small ranch, with several buildings and large fenced areas where different animals lived. Jake could see horses, goats, and what looked like some kind of large bird. A woman came out of the main house as they approached. She was middle-aged with dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Her clothes were dusty, and she had the look of someone who worked hard every day. "You must be the people Tom called about," she said. "I'm Maria. He said you had an unusual animal. That needed help." Jake looked at Lisa, then at Solaris, who was trying to make himself look smaller behind some bushes. "He's very unusual," Jake said. "Let me see him," Maria said simply. Solaris stepped out from behind the bushes. Maria stared at him for a long moment, then nodded as if seeing a dragon was perfectly normal. "He's beautiful," she said, "and he's hurt. I can see it in the way he holds his left front leg." Jake hadn't noticed the injury, but Maria was right. Solaris had been limping slightly since their escape from the facility. The dragon had probably hurt himself breaking through the metal wall. "Come on," Maria said. "Let's get him looked at." Maria led them to a large barn that she used as a medical center for the animals. She examined Solaris gently, and the dragon let her touch him without any fear. Jake could feel that Solaris trusted her immediately. "Just a pulled muscle," Maria said. "He'll be fine with some rest, but that's not why you're really here, is it?" Jake and Lisa explained their situation while Maria cleaned Solaris's leg and gave him something for the pain. She listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or asking short questions. "So the government wants to turn him into a weapon," she said when they finished, "and you're trying to get him somewhere safe." "Tom thought you might help us," Lisa said. Maria smiled. "Tom Bradley is a good man. If he says you need help, that's enough for me. You can stay here tonight, but you should know that people have been asking questions about strangers traveling with unusual animals." "What kind of people?" Jake asked. "Government people. They came by yesterday with photos. They're offering a lot of money for information." Jake felt his heart sink. They had been found again just when they thought they were safe. "Don't worry," Maria said quickly. "I told them I hadn't seen anything, but they'll be back, and they're watching the roads now." That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He sat with Solaris in the barn, feeling the dragon's emotions through their mental connection. Solaris was worried too, but not for himself. The dragon was concerned about Jake and Lisa. He didn't want his friends to get hurt because of him. "We're in this together," Jake told him, "no matter what happens." The next morning brought bad news. Maria turned on the television while they ate breakfast, and Jake saw his own face on the screen. A news reporter was talking about escaped terrorists who had stolen a dangerous alien weapon. "They're calling us criminals," Lisa said, staring at the TV. The reporter said that Jake Martinez and Lisa Thompson were armed and dangerous. Anyone who saw them should call the police immediately. There was a reward of $1 million for information leading to their capture. "They're lying about everything," Jake said angrily. "Of course they are," Maria replied, "but people will believe them. Money makes people do stupid things." Maria was right. That afternoon, Deputy Mike Johnson came to the sanctuary. He was a local police officer who sometimes helped Maria with injured animals, but today he looked nervous and greedy. "Maria, I need to search your property," he said. "There are dangerous criminals in the area." "I already told the government." "People, I haven't seen anyone," Maria said. "The reward is a lot of money, Maria. Enough to save this place and help a lot more animals." Jake knew that Maria's sanctuary was always short of money. She worked hard to take care of abandoned and injured animals, but it was expensive. The reward money would solve all her problems. Jake started to step out of the barn where he had been, hiding, ready to surrender. But Solaris moved faster. The dragon appeared beside Jake, his scales beginning to glow with protective energy. Deputy Johnson saw Solaris and his eyes went wide. "What in the hell is that thing?" "That thing is a person," Jake said firmly. "His name is Solaris, and he's more intelligent than most humans I know." The deputy reached for his gun, but Solaris was faster. A wall of blue energy appeared between them, solid as glass but glowing like fire. The deputy's bullets bounced off. "Harmlessly." "You can't shoot him," Lisa said, stepping out of the barn. "He's not a weapon. He's our friend." Solaris projected feelings of peace and friendship toward the deputy. Jake felt the dragon trying to show the man that he was not dangerous unless someone threatened his friends. Deputy Johnson lowered his gun slowly. "I can feel him in my head," he said, sounding amazed. "He's trying to talk to me." "That's right," Maria said. "He communicates through emotions and images. He's been trying to tell you that he doesn't want to fight." The deputy stared at Solaris for a long time. The dragon had grown even larger overnight, but he kept his energy gentle and his movements slow and careful. "They said he was a weapon," the deputy said. "They want to make him into one," Jake replied. "But that's not what he is. Solaris believes humans and dragons can be friends. That's why he came to Earth." Solaris projected images of peace and cooperation. He showed Deputy Johnson visions of humans and dragons working together, exploring space, and building wonderful things. "My God," the deputy whispered. "He's showing me the future. A good future." "Only if we protect him," Lisa said. "If the government captures him, they'll use him to make weapons. That could start a war between Earth and the dragon homeworld." Deputy Johnson holstered his gun and took off his hat. "I came here thinking I was going to arrest some terrorists and make enough money to retire. Instead, I find a dragon who wants to save the world." "Will you help us?" Jake asked. The deputy looked at Maria, then at Solaris, then back at Jake and Lisa. "Yeah," he said finally, "I'll help. But you can't stay here much longer. Too many people are looking for you." "Where can we go?" Lisa asked. "North," Maria said. "I have friends who run a wildlife research station near the Canadian border. They study migration patterns and they don't ask questions about unusual animals." "It's a long trip," Deputy Johnson warned. "And the government has checkpoints on all the major roads now." Solaris projected determination and courage. The dragon was ready to face whatever came next. "Then we go around the roads," Jake said. "Through the wilderness." "That's dangerous," Maria said. "The desert and mountains are hard to cross, especially with winter coming." "It's our only choice," Lisa replied. Deputy Johnson nodded. "I'll give you my truck and some supplies, and I'll tell anyone who asks that I searched this place and found nothing." As they prepared to leave, Jake realized how much their situation had changed. They had started with just the three of them running scared through the desert. Now they had friends willing to risk everything to help them. People were choosing to do the right thing instead of taking the easy money. Solaris felt it too. The dragon projected gratitude and hope to everyone who had helped them. Maybe there really was a chance for humans and dragons to be friends after all. Jake woke up to the sound of Solaris making distressed noises. They had been camping in the mountains for 5 days, using Deputy Johnson's truck to travel at night and hiding during the day. The dragon was now huge, almost the size of a small airplane, and his emotions were stronger than ever. "What's wrong?" Lisa asked, sitting up in her sleeping bag. Solaris projected urgent images into their minds. Jake saw the big dragon ships in space above Earth. But something was different. The ships looked angry and they were moving into attack positions. "He's talking to the other dragons," Jake realized. "The ones in orbit." More images flowed from Solaris. Jake saw the Dragon Council meeting in their great ship. The elder dragons were arguing about humans. Some wanted to leave Earth immediately. Others wanted to punish humans for the weapons program. "They know about the government trying to capture you," Lisa said to Solaris. "They're angry." Solaris projected fear and sadness. The young dragon had been trying to convince the elders that humans could be trusted, but the evidence of the weapons program had changed their minds. "What are they planning to do?" Jake asked. The images that came next were terrifying. Jake saw the dragon ships preparing to leave Earth forever, but before they left, they would destroy all human technology that could be used to follow them or create weapons. That meant destroying most of Earth's satellites, power plants, and computer systems. "They're going to send us back to the Stone Age," Lisa whispered. But there was worse news. Some of the younger dragons wanted revenge, not just isolation. They were planning to attack the government facilities that had been used to create anti-dragon weapons. "Innocent people will die," Jake said. Solaris projected agreement and desperation. The young dragon was caught between two species that were heading toward war. He had tried to show both sides that cooperation was possible, but nobody seemed to be listening. "We have to stop this," Lisa said. "But how?" Jake thought about their situation. They were 3 fugitives hiding in the mountains while the most powerful governments on Earth hunted them. How could they possibly prevent an interstellar war? "We need to tell the truth," Jake said. "The real truth about what's happening." "Who's going to listen to us?" Lisa asked. "We're wanted criminals now." "Then we make them listen," Jake replied. Tom said he had contacts in the media, people who would print the real story if they had proof. They used Deputy Johnson's truck to drive to the nearest town with internet access. Jake sent encrypted messages to Tom Bradley, explaining what Solaris had learned from the dragon ships. Within hours, Tom had contacted reporters from 3 major news networks. The story broke on every channel at the same time. Video footage of the government's secret anti-dragon weapons program. Audio recordings of officials planning to capture and experiment on intelligent alien beings. Documents showing that the military had been preparing for war with the dragons since first contact. The reaction was immediate and explosive. People around the world were outraged that their governments had been planning to attack peaceful alien visitors. Protests started in major cities. Several countries announced they were withdrawing from the anti-dragon coalition. But the government response was swift and brutal. Dr. Victoria Cross, the head of the weapons program, appeared on television to defend her work. She claimed that the dragons were preparing to invade Earth and that humanity needed every possible defense. "The alien creatures are not peaceful," she said. "Our intelligence shows they are planning to conquer our planet. The weapons program is our only hope of survival." To prove her point, Dr. Cross revealed something horrifying. The government had been using Solaris's DNA, collected from the facility where Jake had hidden him, to create artificial dragons. These creatures looked like dragons but had no intelligence or free will. They were living weapons that followed orders without question. "We have successfully created 12 dragon-like organisms," Dr. Cross announced. They possess the aliens' abilities, but remain under complete human control. Jake felt sick as he watched the footage of the artificial dragons. They looked like twisted versions of Solaris, with dull eyes and no personality. Worse, they were unstable. Even as Dr. Cross spoke, reports came in of one artificial dragon going berserk in Los Angeles. The creature was attacking everything in sight, breathing fire and destroying buildings. Military units were trying to stop it, but their weapons had little effect. Hundreds of people were running for their lives. "This is our fault," Jake said, watching the chaos on television. "They used Solaris's DNA to create those monsters." Solaris projected guilt and responsibility. The young dragon blamed himself for the artificial creatures and the destruction they were causing. "No," Lisa said firmly. "This is not your fault. They chose to steal your DNA and create weapons. You didn't ask for any of this." But Solaris had made a decision. The dragon projected images of himself flying to Los Angeles to stop the artificial creature. He was the only one who might be able to communicate with or control the berserk dragon. "It's too dangerous," Jake said. "If you show yourself, every military unit in the country will try to capture you." Solaris projected determination and courage. The young dragon was willing to risk everything to save innocent people and prove that real dragons were different from the artificial weapons. "If you're going to do this, we're coming with you," Lisa said. Jake nodded. "We started this together. We'll finish it together." They drove through the night toward Los Angeles. As they got closer, they could see the glow of fires on the horizon. The artificial dragon was still rampaging through the city, and the military seemed powerless to stop it. Radio reports said that thousands of people had been evacuated, but many more were trapped in the disaster zone. The artificial dragon was getting more violent as time passed, as if its programming was breaking down completely. "How do we get close enough for Solaris to help?" Lisa asked. "We go straight through the middle," Jake said. "Right down the main highway where everyone can see us." It was a crazy plan, but it was the only one they had. Jake drove Deputy Johnson's truck directly toward the chaos, while Solaris rode in the back, his massive form visible to anyone who looked. News helicopters spotted them immediately. Within minutes, Jake's truck was being broadcast live on every television channel in the world. People watched as the truck carrying the real dragon drove straight toward the artificial one that was destroying the city. "This is Jake Martinez," Jake said into Lisa's phone, which was connected to a live news feed. "The dragon with us is named Solaris. He's not a weapon. He's a person, and he's going to try to save your city." Military helicopters surrounded them, but their orders were confused. Some commanders wanted to shoot down the truck immediately. Others wanted to see what the real dragon would do. Solaris made the choice for them. The young dragon spread his wings and took off from the truck, flying directly toward the artificial creature that was terrorizing downtown Los Angeles. The whole world watched as the two dragons met in the sky above the city. The artificial creature attacked immediately, breathing fire and trying to claw Solaris out of the air. But Solaris didn't fight back. Instead, he projected calm and peace toward the artificial dragon. He tried to reach whatever remained of its mind, to find some spark of intelligence or free will. For a moment, it seemed to work. The artificial dragon stopped attacking and hovered in the air as if confused. Solaris moved closer, still projecting peaceful thoughts. Then the artificial dragon's programming reasserted itself. It attacked again, but this time Solaris was ready. The real dragon used his abilities to create barriers of energy, protecting the buildings below while slowly wearing down his artificial opponent. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, the artificial dragon lay unconscious, in a parking lot, wrapped in bonds of pure energy that Solaris had created. The young dragon landed beside it and projected healing energy, trying to repair the damage that the military's crude cloning had done to the creature's mind. Live television cameras captured every moment. The world saw Solaris save a city and then try to heal the creature that had attacked him. They saw intelligence, compassion, and nobility. The public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. People around the world demanded an end to the weapons program and protection for Solaris. Government officials who had supported Dr. Cross found themselves facing angry voters and international condemnation. Jake and Lisa drove to where Solaris had landed. Military units surrounded them, but they didn't attack. Too many people were watching, and public opinion had shifted completely in favor of the dragon and his human friends. "It's over," Lisa said, as they walked toward Solaris. "The whole world knows the truth now." But Jake knew their real work was just beginning. They had prevented a war and saved a city, but there were still artificial dragons to deal with and relationships to rebuild between humans and dragons. Solaris projected hope and determination. The young dragon was ready for whatever came next. The emergency meeting took place in the United Nations building in New York. Representatives from every major country sat around a huge table, with Solaris curled up at one end like a magnificent living statue. His scales had grown even more beautiful, showing colors that seemed to shift and change in the light. Jake sat beside the dragon, still amazed that he was here. 3 months ago, he had been a nobody scientist working night shifts in the desert. Now he was speaking to world leaders about the future of human-dragon relations. "The artificial dragon program has been completely shut down," Secretary General Williams announced. "All remaining artificial creatures have been safely contained and are receiving treatment to repair the psychological damage from their creation." Jake felt relief flow through Solaris. The young dragon had been worried about his artificial cousins ever since the battle in Los Angeles. Solaris believed that even artificial life deserved respect and care. "What about Dr. Cross and the others responsible for the weapons program?" asked the representative from Canada. "Dr. Victoria Cross has been arrested and charged with crimes against sentient beings," the Secretary General replied. "A new international law has been passed making it illegal to create weapons based on intelligent alien DNA without consent." Colonel Hayes, who had been pursuing Jake and Solaris for months, stood up to speak. "I want to apologize personally to Mr. Martinez, Dr. Thompson, and Solaris. I was following orders, but that doesn't excuse the harm we caused. These 3 individuals showed more wisdom and courage than our entire military establishment." Jake felt Solaris project forgiveness toward the colonel. The dragon held no grudges against people who had been trying to do their duty, even when that duty was wrong. "The question now," said the representative from Germany, "is how we move forward. The dragon ships are still in orbit, and we understand they're still considering whether to maintain contact with Earth." Lisa stood up to answer. She had been appointed as Earth's first director of peaceful xenobiology, a new international position created to prevent future disasters like the weapons program. "Solaris has been in constant communication with the Dragon Fleet," Lisa said. "The Elder Dragons are willing to give humanity another chance, but only under strict conditions." "What conditions?" asked the representative from Japan. Solaris projected images into the minds of everyone in the room. Jake felt the dragon sharing visions of cooperation and mutual respect. Space exploration with both humans and dragons working together. Scientific discoveries that would benefit both species. A future where intelligence was valued more than military power. "They want to start with a cultural exchange program," Jake translated. "Young dragons would come to Earth to learn about human society, while human volunteers would visit the dragon homeworld." "And you would oversee this program?" the Secretary General asked. "If you'll have me," Jake replied. "Solaris has agreed to stay on Earth as the first dragon ambassador. We would work together to build understanding between our species." The vote was unanimous. Every country agreed to support the new exchange program and to provide protection for Solaris and any other dragons who chose to visit Earth. After the meeting, Jake walked with Solaris through Central Park. The dragon had learned to make himself nearly invisible when he wanted privacy, bending light around his scales until he looked like just another shadow among the trees. "Are you sure about staying on Earth?" Jake asked. "You could go home to your own people now." Solaris projected images of Earth, of humans, of the friendships he had made. This was his home now. He belonged here as much as he belonged anywhere. Lisa joined them by the lake in the center of the park. "The first group of young dragons arrives next week," she said. 5 juveniles who volunteered for the exchange program, and we have 12 humans ready to visit the dragon homeworld. Including Tom Bradley," Jake added with a smile. "He says he wants to see what kind of technology the dragons have developed." Maria Santos had also volunteered for the program. Her animal sanctuary had been turned into the first Earth Dragon Cultural Center, where both species could meet and learn from each other. Even Deputy Johnson had found a new role. He had been appointed as head of security for the exchange program, responsible for protecting visiting dragons from anyone who might want to harm them. "What about the artificial dragons?" Lisa asked. Solaris projected gentle concern. The artificial creatures were slowly recovering in special care facilities. Some had developed enough intelligence to communicate simple thoughts. Solaris visited them regularly, helping them understand what they were and giving them hope for the future. "The first artificial dragon spoke yesterday," Jake said. "He asked for a name. Solaris suggested Phoenix, because he's rising from the ashes of his artificial creation to become something real." As they walked, Jake thought about how much had changed. The weapons program was gone. Dr. Cross was in prison. The Dragon Fleet had moved from military positions to peaceful orbit around Earth. Most importantly, the truth was out. Everyone knew that dragons were intelligent beings deserving of respect, not weapons to be created and controlled. "Look," Lisa said, pointing to the sky. High above Central Park, 3 shapes moved through the clouds. The first young dragons of the exchange program were arriving early, eager to see Earth and meet the humans who would be their friends. Solaris spread his wings and launched himself into the air to greet them. Jake watched as the 4 dragons circled each other in a complex aerial dance, communicating through light patterns and telepathic images. When Solaris landed again, he projected pure joy. His friends from the homeworld had brought news. The elder dragons were so pleased with the success of the exchange program that they were planning to establish a permanent embassy on Earth. "Really?" Jake asked. "A real embassy?" The images Solaris shared showed a beautiful building where humans and dragons could meet as equals. Scientists working together on new discoveries. Diplomats solving problems through discussion instead of force. Children of both species learning from each other. "It's everything we hoped for," Lisa said. Jake knelt down and put his hand on Solaris's snout, feeling the warm scales and the gentle hum of energy that always surrounded the dragon. "You did this," he said. "You made this possible." Solaris projected humility and shared credit. The dragon knew that friendship was something that had to be built by everyone involved. Humans and dragons working together, one relationship at a time. 6 months later, Jake stood in the new Earth Dragon Embassy, watching human and dragon children play together in the central garden. The human children were teaching the young dragons how to play hide and seek, while the dragons showed the humans how to create beautiful patterns of light in the air. Lisa came up beside him, carrying a report about the latest scientific discoveries, made by mixed human-dragon research teams. "The fusion power project is ahead of schedule," she said. "And the new medical treatments based on dragon healing abilities have helped thousands of people." "Any regrets about leaving your old job?" Jake asked. Lisa laughed. "You mean sitting in a lab looking at data all day instead of exploring the universe with dragons? No regrets at all." Solaris approached them, now fully grown and magnificent. His scales had developed new patterns that showed his role as an ambassador, and his golden eyes held wisdom beyond his years. Behind him walked Phoenix, the first artificial dragon to achieve full intelligence and freedom. The next group of human volunteers leaves for the dragon homeworld tomorrow, Jake told Solaris. 50 people this time, including 3 families, with children. Solaris projected satisfaction and hope. Each human who visited the dragon homeworld and each dragon who came to Earth made the friendship between their species stronger. "What about you?" Lisa asked Jake. "Ready for your first trip to space?" Jake was scheduled to visit the dragon homeworld next month as part of an advanced cultural exchange. He would be the first human to spend an extended time living among the dragons, learning their history and customs. A little nervous, Jake admitted, but excited too. Solaris projected confidence in his friend. The dragon knew that Jake would represent humanity well, just as he had from the very beginning. As the sun set over the city, Jake watched the human and dragon children continue their games. Some were flying through the air with the help of dragon telekinesis, while others were building towers out of energy constructs that glowed like small stars. "Look at them," Lisa said. "They don't see any difference between humans and dragons. To them, we're all just people who happen to look different." "Maybe that's the future," Jake said. "A generation that grows up seeing aliens as friends instead of enemies." Solaris projected agreement and hope. The young dragon had always believed that different species could work together. Now he was watching that belief become reality. The first stars appeared in the darkening sky, and Jake could see the lights of the dragon ships orbiting Earth. They were no longer positioned for war or for quick escape. They were positioned for permanent partnership, for a future where humans and dragons explored the galaxy together. Jake Martinez had started as a lonely scientist working night shifts in the desert. Now he was helping to build a new kind of civilization, one based on friendship and mutual respect between species. And it had all begun with one small dragon, who believed that beings from different worlds could learn to trust each other. Solaris spread his wings and took off into the night sky, joining the other dragons in their evening flight around the city. Jake watched until the dragon's glowing scales disappeared among the stars, knowing that tomorrow would bring new adventures and new opportunities to build bridges between worlds. The age of fear and suspicion was over. The age of cooperation and friendship had begun.